Next, we will see the different type of SDLC models. The other words, it is called as a software development lifecycle models. So actually, the software life cycle has evolved. This models has been evolved a very long. Like initially, it was the traditional waterfall method. So waterfall method, as the name indicates, it will be like a waterfall. The model will be like a waterfall from requirement phase to the deployment phase. So what are different phases we have seen already in SDLC phases. So this is a very traditional way waterfall method, and it is widely used some years back as well. Now agile is being widely used, but waterfall method has been used in very huge number of projects. There are a lot of projects which has used waterfall method, which is very powerful model but effective. It's a very traditional model, in other words. Then from waterfall method, they found out like there are many disadvantages in the waterfall method. Then they came up with the V model. As the name indicates, the V model will look like a V model. So the V model is the first model where they have started doing, like during requirement phase, they started doing everything parallelly, like which I have explained before. In agile as well, we are doing it everything parallelly. So in V model as well, they started doing everything parallelly, which we will discuss. And the most widely used model today is agile model. This can be asked in any interview questions as well. What is agile? You it is the widely used model now is agile model. So if you see there, it will look like the V model and the agile model are almost same. The agile model was evolved from V model actually. uh, uh, the, I mean, some of the disadvantages of the V model has been eliminated, and the agile model has been developed. Uh, Agile model has been developed, and it is now widely used, as I have said earlier. And there are few other models as well, like a prototype model, spiral model, which are all not that important. There are many models actually. If you go through in Google, there are many models, software model. And which model is the best way? Which model is the best model? Yes, of course, agile model is the best model. But is the waterfall method is a bad model? No, we can't say that waterfall method is a bad model. It also has its own advantages, and many companies still is using waterfall method as well, because uh, it works well for them. One simple reason, like waterfall method works well for them, and they have been uh, doing it, and they might don't want to go to agile, because for agile they might need some investment, like you have to have a scrum master, you have to build a team, you have to train the team for agile. So these are all things are there. So some of the companies where waterfall model itself is working fine for them, they don't wanted to invest in agile model, and they are still they are using waterfall or V model as well. So we will go through this waterfall method, V model, and agile model in our session now. And the other models are not that much widely used, and we will not go through those. You can still go through in the internet what are the other models if you are still interested. So there are many other models, as I said, spiral model, iterative model. They will iterative way they will do the development, an incremental method. This all you can go through. So this is waterfall method. It's a simple design of a waterfall method. You can see this waterfall method will be looking like a waterfall. So from requirements phase, design phase, execution, testing, release, it goes like this. So how this waterfall method, like so in simple way, like waterfall method what happens is, if you take an example, for example, mm, uh, we can take a simple example like calculator, for example, or yeah, you have to develop a calculator application. This may be our scenario. So how waterfall method is done is like, initially it will be done as requirement phase. So we have discussed this in the phases before this, what is requirement phase, etc. This calculator, I'm not going to go in deep in how to collect the requirement, etc., etc. I'm just saying, I have just taken an example of calculator. You can take anything, like you can take as a e-retail site. You can take anything like Amazon or Flipkart. Okay, requirement phase. Here they will collection of requirement. So in waterfall method, then they will go to design phase, which is, you know that well before, and they will do the design. So when this requirement phase is being done, there will not be any other activity carried out. Like only the project will be for e-retail site. What are the customers' requirement? The team will be concentrating, or the team which is involved for the requirement phase only will be concentrating on requirement phase. The other team will be uh, sitting idle if it is a initial stage of development. So how is it works in maintenance, I will explain you later. So this we can see, like you got a fresh e-retail site, you are going to do the development. So we are considering that example and we are starting. So first it will be requirement phase, collection of requirements, only the team will be working on that and no other steps will be carried out. Then design phase, design the application. Then it design, they will, as I have discussed, that architect will be designing the applications. Then it will be execution, which is anyway development or execution or development. So the developer will be coding. Then it will be testing. Then it will be, of course, deployment and UAT, etc. So what happens is, the requirement phase, only the requirement phase will be carried out. There will be no other phases will be involved in that. Why I am saying is, these other models are going to differ from this. Then in the design phase, the designing of the application will be carried out and nothing else will be carried out. And in the execution phase, development will be coding, testing will be waiting for the code to come, then it will go to deployment. Okay, so what are the disadvantage of this? It is very clear, like during the requirement phase, the other all teams will be sitting idle. During the execution, these all teams will be sitting idle. During testing, these all teams will be sitting idle and testers will be waiting for the development to complete and they will be testing. So it goes like that. So this is a major disadvantage of the waterfall method. Disadvantage is the other teams will be idle until the previous phase is completed. So this is a major disadvantage actually. Of course, because of this, cost is more. Okay, so uh, so now the another disadvantage what we feel in waterfall method is, okay, you have done the requirement phase, you have done the design, you have done the execution or development, you have done the testing, you have done the deployment. So the customer is doing user acceptance testing, UAT or user acceptance testing. So here he found out, like there is a requirement problem. So this full phase is done. Here he found out like there is a problem with the requirement. I mean the requirement is not satisfied. Requirement is not satisfied. Is not satisfied. What happens? Again it goes to requirement phase, again design, again execution, again testing, again deployment. So again it goes to full phase, which consumes lot of time because all modules are requirement is collected, every model. So this is very important. Every module will be done at the same time. So they will be again it goes to requirement, again it goes to design, execution, testing. So huge time and huge cost is involved. So this is a major disadvantage of the waterfall method. So then you could have clearly understood like then why still companies are using waterfall method. Yes, because many projects which is already been released or already been went into production. So those projects you can easily use, or you cannot say like you can easily use, you can still use the waterfall method because in maintenance phase there will be only few CRs. I mean, which I said earlier, there will be only change request. So there will be only change request, and you can still and there is a very less maintenance. Maintenance also very important. It will be less maintenance. Means there is very less CRs. Like for each release, there are 2-3 CRs or maximum 5 CRs. It can still go through the waterfall method because it is not going to cost more, and it is only be enhancing the application. You can go through the requirement phase, etc. So many maintenance projects, but when you are developing the new project or the maintenance is very huge, waterfall method is not suggested because it consumes lot of time. So this is waterfall method. So I will repeat, it is like it goes like a waterfall from requirement, design, execution, then testing, then release. So for until each phase, others will be waiting, testers will be waiting until all these three phases are completed. Yeah, there is a question like testers will be involved in the requirement gathering. Yes, testers might can be involved or will be can be involved in the requirement phase as well, but still the design and execution, requirements and design, more than requirements design, this period is the longer period and the testers will be waiting for this. So it consumes a lot of time. That is a disadvantage of waterfall method. So on seeing these disadvantages of waterfall method, the team are idle and cost is involved more. They came up with something called V model. V model, as you can see that it is in V shape. So here what they thought is like we will do many of the activities parallelly. So when the requirement gathering is completed, you start doing uh, the test case writing. Like you can start writing the test case after the requirement is finalized. So once they are doing the coding as well, you start preparing. When the requirement is finalized, you start preparing smoke testing. When the coding part is being done, you write the test cases. When the requirement phase is going on, after the requirement is finalized, start preparing the test plan and how many resources might be required. You start doing the planning for testing. These kind of things, everything started being done parallelly. So this saved a lot of time. Like every activity has been done parallelly. When coding is being done, the test cases will be started writing. When requirement phase is completed and when the design phase is going on, you start preparing the test plan, and you identify the resources from the test plan. You identify the resources for testing, which means like computers, hardware, software, etc. So this happens. So, and in V model, they started preparing in phase wise. So this is a major disadvantage of the V model. So they came up with the V model. So again, I am repeating, like V model, everything happens parallelly, as the name suggests.
This conference will now be recorded.
So next comes the agile model, which is the very powerful now, and it is been widely used software development model, which is been widely used in these days. So what is agile model? We will see in little bit of detail. So this picture, I will give a little bit of a example, like I will give a little bit of details on this. So in agile, what they do is, once the requirement is gathered, once the requirement is finalized, they start creating a, for example, we will take one example, like you are using a Jira. I will show you in detail in Jira as well from one of my projects. So once you create, once your requirement is finalized, okay, and once the design is completed, they will identify story points, like what are all has to be developed. For example, so you are having a banking website. So your requirement gathering will be done. Then design phase also will be completed after long discussion. So design phase, so these all will be this requirement, everything will be put in the Jira, this requirement. So what will be the requirement? Create a account details page. Okay, this is customer account details page, means what is his balance amount left, what is credited, we will take as an example, debited, etc. Okay, so this requirement gathering they create. So requirement gathering is done and design phase is done. So they will start creating story points in agile. Story points, they say it. So this story point will come under this requirement. So in Jira, it will be a create a customer will be a requirement. Under this requirement, they create a story points, like create a customer with not exceeding 15 characters. Then display the account details of the customer. Then display the credit and debit. Okay, they will make the story point as short or as simple as possible. They will, if you feel like some requirement is bigger, they create multiple story points for that. Display the credit details. So I was supposed to write debit details as well. So the story points will be always created as simple and as small requirement as possible. Display the debit details, etc. Okay, so This they will create as a story point 1, 2, 3, 4 in Jira. So under this story point, they will put the design for this. So this design is nothing. This architecture will create the design for each and every requirement. That you should be very much careful. Like this design is created for each and every requirement, means like a flowchart. It will not be a detailed design, a flowchart kind of, and what should be what are the fields should be there, like label should be what name, and edit box should be what name, which database, this is very important, which database it will go and store, which table in database it will go and store, etc., etc., will be there for each and every requirement. So you will create each and everything as a story point. So what they do is, like, they create different sprints: sprint 1, sprint 2, etc. So what they do is the developers and everyone, product owner, everyone, design, everyone sit together and they do sprint planning. So what they do is they discuss with the customer. So these will not be only 4 requirements. There will be maybe uh, some hundreds of requirements. So they will first take the priority cases. They will discuss with the customer, or they might not discuss with the customer. The product owner with his knowledge only he will decide. So what they decide is which should be highest priority. They define the priority of. I'm saying in simple words. I mean, Agile is a very big. Vast department, and there are courses also, agile methodology courses, agile scrum master courses, agile scrum master certifications, and also I am putting in a simple terms in terms of testing, what you may require for testing. So they define the importance of the different stories, and they create a priority for this story. So it is simply they create a priority. For example, display the credit and debit details is okay, that cannot be. Display the account details and create a customer or the high priority. And what they decide, there will be hundreds of them, please note that. So what they do is, what they decide is, okay, these two are high priority, we have to put this in sprint 1. So they put this in sprint 1, and these are the low priority ones. We can put it, we can do it in later also. So we will put here, we will take it as sprint 2. Maybe these are very low priority ones will come in the below sprint 3, sprint 4, etc., sprint 10, like that it will go. Okay, so what, all the sprints will be created at once? No. What they do is, this sprint 1 they created, they identified like this is some maybe some 10 development things. They created like 10 cases, 10 stories to be stories to be developed in this first sprint. They will put this, and very important, a sprint will have yes, how long a sprint will be. The sprint will be maximum of 2 weeks period. So most of the companies, they do the sprint for 2 weeks period, and after that they start doing the sprint planning again. So what they do is they create different stories, and they put all the requirements under these stories, and they they will do a sprint planning. In the sprint planning, they discuss with the developers and the product owners and the testers. Everyone will sit together. They will create the story. They will create first a story of create a customer, and they will try to understand the requirements below it. What are all the requirements? They will read all the requirements.
This conference will now be recorded.
So they will collect all, they will go through all the requirements, discuss among themselves, they clarify the doubts, etc., etc., and they will do a time estimate. So for example, for this the developer wants uh, uh, that 40 hours or 60 hours to develop this. Then they may or they may not. They may create a subcategory for testing. In few companies, they may not create a subcategory. They will create a different testing sprint itself. So you will create as a subcategory, or they might not create a subcategory, and they will put testing test create a customer not exceeding 15 characters. So they do like this. So they will estimate this testing separately. For example, they ask, like, for testing we want for this 30. So like this, different, and all the other requirements will go to backlog. So what this backlog does, once this sprint is completed and this sprint is finished, then they will start the second sprint, sprint 2. In this backlog, they will identify which are the crucial things, I mean, which are the next high priority ones, and they will add in the sprint number 2. So what happens if a developer is not able to complete this in 60 hours of time? What they do is they will re-estimate this, they will discuss this, and if he have not completed this until the sprint 1 is completed, they will move this to sprint 2, and there they will re-estimate. They will do a sprint planning. There they will re-estimate it, and again he might be given another. It cannot be the same 60 hours, because it depends. During the development, he might be finding many challenges, or the requirement might have changed a bit, or there will be many challenges for a developer as well. So he didn't complete, or he has asked a clarification to the clarification, and it took some time for the customer to clarify, so he waited until then. But normally they will not wait for that. That also I will explain. So the clarification, they will not wait for this particular task. What they do is, developers normally, they have asked a clarification for this, and the clarification is taking more time. So immediately he will take a next story which is been in the sprint, and he will start working on that until the clarification of this comes. Then once this clarification comes, he will shift from that to here. So this is one of the advantage and disadvantages, because advantage is that the developer need not wait for the clarification. He can shift to the next work and he can do. The disadvantage is that he has to be transferring from one task to another, which will create little bit of confusion, and he will take some time to cope up with that. So that is the one advantage and disadvantage. So coming back to our point, so this backlog everything, so in sprint 2 what they do is, from here this has taken more time, this also they will add to sprint 2, and they will re-estimate, and in sprint 2 they create they create
This conference will now be recorded.
so this backlogs from the sprint, because next, which is our high priority, will be added in sprint 2, and here which are all not completed will also be added into the sprint 2. So like this, the sprint will be going on. More important point is, each sprint will have, this sprint will be 2 to 3 weeks. 3 weeks mostly it will not happen. Only thing is, if something is on the closure and that is all high priority, they don't want to spend time for sprint planning and everything, then they will go for 3 weeks. But normally a sprint will be 2 weeks, and these all will be, more importantly, will be estimated, and it will be assigned to different developers, or something will be left blank. So if this guy who is working a struck for the requirement, so what he does is, which is available, next available in this sprint, most particularly, he cannot shift to the next sprint. In this sprint something is unassigned, he can take up that, and he can start working that until this clarification is done. So like this, the sprint will go on, sprint 3, sprint 10, until sprint so many companies are having sprint 40, 50 also. So this is the agile methodology. And what I said is testing. It will be created as a subcategory. This will also be done. So once this story is created, create a customer not exceeding 15 characters. This story is created. The requirement is there already in the tracking tool, Jira, for example, we took. So these testers will start writing test case using this requirement, and this will testers can it can or cannot be differentiated into two, like a create test case will be one subcategory, execute test case. So they will estimate this and estimate this as well. So once this requirement, he will see the requirement and he will create the test case, and it will also be in the tracking tool or Jira. And once this development is completed, he gave for this, the testers, more important point in this agile is the tester need not wait for the other stories unless and otherwise there is a dependency of the other story. He will start executing the test cases for that particular story. Means create a customer not exceeding 15 characters, he will start executing it. So here what happens is, in most of the cases what they do is, after, what is the main advantage of this from V model is, after completion, in most of the companies, after completion of 2 sprints, they go for a demo. So in this demo, who all participate? Customer, product owner, managers, QA team. If someone, it depends on the company more than this, whoever they don't want to include. So after every 2 sprints, or some cases every 3 sprints, they go for a demo. So what are all has been completed in this sprint 1 and sprint 2, they do a demo to the customer as well and product owner as well. So if the customer has some changes here only, or the customer is not satisfied with some of the development or some of the parts of application, immediately he can create one more story, and immediately he will inform the product owner, and the product owner will create one more story, and they will, which will be maintenance of this, or it depends on however they want, or they want as a new story. It depends on the severity of the change, and they will create one more story and they will start doing that again. So this is like this, it goes each every 2 sprint they give a demo. So what is the advantage of this from V model is, V model there is not a demo. uh, each every phase will go in parallel, everything will go in parallel, but there is no demo concept here. That requirement phase and test cases writing phase, or the the design phase and test case writing phase may go parallelly, but there is no demo, and there is no verification until the full cycle, full software cycle is completed. Same with waterfall method. Until it is fully completed, there is, the customer will never come to know what has been developed. Is it satisfying for me? If the requirement has been satisfied properly, these all these customers doesn't know. In V model, the advantage is that it has been developed parallelly and it saves lot of time from waterfall. Here it goes one by one, it goes parallelly, but here the disadvantage is, still the customer, it saves the time and cost, but still the customer will not be knowing until the it after system testing and acceptance system testing is completed. After that only the customer will have the access to the product or application, and again it may go wrong, and again it is a big headache and it is a time consuming. But in agile, the thing is, like you have seen here, the sprint will go to 2 to 4 weeks, but normally a sprint will go for only 2 weeks, maximum 3 weeks. So here the advantage is, like after every 2 sprints they show a demo to everyone, and if someone is having a disagreement with that, immediately they will, immediately you will come to know, like there is a mistake and you have to rectify, which save a lot of time. So Again, few things in sprint is like you have a daily status meeting, daily scrum, which will not go more than 5 minutes. Here the developers and testers will just update in one line, like what they are doing, what they have done yesterday and what they are doing today. For example, yesterday I worked on adding a customer page. Today I will be working on account transfer page. Like it will be a simple sentence, and the sprint daily meeting will go for maybe 5 to 10 minutes, maximum 15 minutes. There will be no clarifications, nothing in the daily stand-up meeting. It is just updation of status, that's all. Then one more thing of sprint planning is like the sprint agile is like after every sprint there is a retrospective meeting. In other words, like what went well in the previous sprint and what went wrong in the current sprint. So why this is very important is like each one will come up with some advantages what went well in the current sprint, and the developers will be having, or the design phase architecture will be having, or developers will be having some um, what to say, some difficulties or some challenges they might have faced, or they might have asked for some clarifications to someone and they might have waited for very long time. So these things all they say in here, like what are the things which went wrong also, so that everyone will be knowing that what went wrong, and they will be trying to correct it. If it is a very much critical or which is cannot be corrected that easily, it may be corrected in the sprint 10 or sprint 9, but most of the things they will try to correct for the sprint 2 itself, so that they can do the next sprint fast enough and with high productivity. Okay, so the sprint will go for 2 weeks, and daily stand-up meetings will happen, or daily scrum will happen. So I hope everyone understood this. The sprint 3 there will be backlogs, and that backlogs will be going on adding. So one question in this is like, one question is in this sprint you have.
This conference will now be recorded.
So another thing is like for this sprint 1, for example, you have estimated 130 hours for development activity. So very rare case this is. If it is completed in 75 hours itself, so what will happen? The remaining hours, whatever it is, a 65 or 55. What the every developers will be sitting idly? No, that is the another advantage of agile is like they will add one more requirement from this sprint 2, and they will add into this sprint 1. So it is very what to say, accommodative. This agile is very accommodative. So one from some other requirement they will pick from here and they will put it here. Here it is not possible in waterfall method. Whoever wants, whichever they will pick, they will start working, they will wait for clarification. So for this, so here it is like immediately they will take from the next backlog. They will be having many cases or stories in backlog. They will take and put it in the first sprint, so that lot of time is saved. And this is, if it is, this is the case, it is considered as a best sprint, and it happens very rarely actually. This is one of the advantages of agile. So this is a little bit theory part. What are the advantages? So it decreases the time required to avail some system features. Okay, and it is mostly face to face communication, and it is continuous inputs from customer. So there is no space for guesswork, which I have said. You will have a every 2 sprints you will have a demo with the customer, and it will be a face to face communication. Means you will be showing in a webex, or you will be showing in a sharing the screen, and you will be showing to the customer. It is kind of face to face communication. So if the customer is not happy, immediately the customer is having some disagreement, immediately he comes back, and which it will save lot of time. What happens in waterfall method is, or V model also to some extent, what we can say is like lot of things has been done with the guesswork, because the customer is not involved until it is being released to him. Until testing is completed, the customer is not involved. So so he doesn't know what is being developed, and when it is coming for the release stage and he is disagreeing, again, it will go to again full phase. So here advantage is like you will be showing demo in every 2 weeks whatever has been developed, and customer is happy, and customer also can ensure like, okay, this much is developed, so he gets confidence as well, like, oh, this much is been developed. So because of all these, like it has been splitted, it has been developed module wise, and demo has been showed everything, the end result is high quality software in the least possible time duration, and customer is satisfied. And you are showing the demo also 2 weeks once, and the customer is agreeing, okay, this is what I want, I am happy with that. And after the product is completed, or after the 7 or 8 sprints, he cannot say something like, no, I am not happy with that, because you have agreed with that, you saw that, and you are satisfied with that. So he most probably he will also not come back after later, like, I am not satisfied with the sprint one development. So the customer also is satisfied. If he comes back also, it is created as a CR, change request, because you have agreed already. So that is again revenue for the company. So the disadvantage, there are some disadvantage also is agile. So the documentation is done at later stages actually, not the test case document. Don't misunderstand in that. Mostly the release documents, and they prepare some UAD, some documents. These documents are prepared at the later stages. So this is one of the disadvantage. So reduce the usability components. This is very important in agile, because what you are doing here is like you are developing each and everything like this. So if to increase the usability of components, you should have a very better and nicer development framework. Still, their disadvantage is there. So what happens is, you have developed a sprint 1, create a customer not exceeding 15 characters, and sprint 10, some other page, there is a same kind of functionality, it is developed and this is been approved. No one remembers in sprint 10, even the resources will not remain stay, many of the resources. So sprint 10 or sprint 12 or sprint 20, you keep it. So what happens is these can be reused in sprint 20, same kind of requirement for a different page you have. So obviously these can be reused.
This conference will now be recorded.
So what happens is a reusability, so that we cannot use this one there. So this reusability is reduced. So needs special skills for the team. So to the team to cope up with agile, or the team should understand agile, the team has to be trained in agile, the team has to know what is agile, the team has to have some special skills, because you are going to do daily stand up. Yesterday you have the developer is developing something, and he has not got any solution for this, he is not able to do a defined coding, so he will be tensed, what to say in the tomorrow's meeting. So this needs a special skills of the team, like they should understand the agile process. Still you can say in the next day, like, I was doing this, I was not able to find a solution for this. So if you say that, it someone else in the team might be helping, he might have worked in the similar kind of technology, he might be helping him. So this cannot be saying like it is a disadvantage. Some people doesn't say like they didn't find a solution, they will be going on saying like, yeah, I'm working on that, working on that, working on that. So at final stage they say like, I didn't find the solution for this. So it needs special skills. You have to train your teams to cope up with the agile.